Okay, so just before we get started, just out of curiosity, how many of you are based in Munich? Okay, all right. I actually visited Munich because of this conference like 2 years ago. Yeah, there's always a lot of construction happening in Munich, and yeah, they usually end up blocking the sideways for some reason. I don't know why. And then
Especially Ostbahnhof, right?
yeah, and then you have to go to the bike lane, and then there's a bike guy who gets very angry at you. Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that today. So, very briefly, we are going to go through some of the basics that underlie ZK email, and then we're going to go through a registry and an SDK that we have, and then we'll talk about email signer, which is another use case of ZK email, and then we'll take a look at some of the applications that people or us are building on top of ZK email. Right. So the most basic of every email is like the DKIM protocol or the DKIM signature that comes with every email. A very quick history on that is that about like 20 years ago, the DKIM protocol sort of was spec together and used initially by Yahoo and then Google and then PayPal and eBay. And the reason was that at the time, there was a lot of phishing happening in email. Someone would just pretend to be PayPal and then send an email to someone, and then they would steal their money. Same was true for eBay. And also, like, yeah, it was mainly not because of encryption or because of like privacy. It was basically to prevent sort of spam and phishing. But yeah, just we'll fast forward to 20 years later, we have ZK, and we can also use these protocols to like do selective disclosure and prove parts of an email. So just to talk a little bit about what the protocol does under the hood is, it's pretty simple. So this thing here, which we are taking a SHA-256 hash of, is basically just a long string. And this string is just the from of the email. So the sender goes here, like literally it would be, for example, like zkfriendly at like gmail.com. And then you would concatenate the two, the subject, the body hash. And so the things that go into the SHA-256 here are not like rigorously spec'd out. So for example, Outlook doesn't include the timestamp, but Gmail includes the timestamp. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, they come also in the header of the email. So every mail provider tells you this is how they are basically making the hash. And then they RSA sign it. So the signature can also not be RSA. It could be different things, but it is usually RSA, and it is usually SHA-256. So this is what gets signed, and this is what we call the DKIM signature. And so now that we have this signature, we can do all sorts of interesting stuff. For example, we can prove that an email is authentic, and then we can have selective disclosure here. All right, so this is going to be like a very rough roadmap of what we're going to do. Okay, the first example here. So for example, I have this email. This is supposed to be like to demonstrate a whistleblowing use case where a malicious CEO is sort of sending out emails to some employee that we are going to do these things, like these bad things. And then the employee is like, okay, this is not cool. I better maybe probably tell someone or inform the world somehow, but I don't really want to get caught in the middle because even though I think I'm doing a good thing, but revealing my name and everything wouldn't be like ideal. So what they can do, they could use ZK email to sort of attach a proof to this image or to the raw content of this email that this is actually coming from CEO at like, I don't know, the evil company, and everything else is exactly as it was in the email, but you just hide the from. And this is something that you can do with ZK email, which is one use case. So we have a registry and a lot of tooling that allows everyone to basically generate whatever template that you want and allow anybody else to just come to the website and upload their emails and generate proofs and later share them with anyone that they want. Yeah, for example, like we can have a proof of Twitter. And how that might work is that you can go to Twitter or X now, and then you request a password reset. And when you do that, you get an email, and in your email, it states your username as well. So what you can do, you can just reveal the username, and nothing else about the email, or like what your email address is, like if you're using Gmail or whatever other provider, you can just selectively disclose the handle, and then you have like a cryptographic proof that you can verify on chain later that, okay, this belongs to you. And for example, someone could now send money to somebody's Twitter account or whatever other social media that has this feature, because with this kind of system, you can allow the owner of the handle to withdraw that money later. So that would be one example. Or yeah, we have other different examples as well. We have like, I don't know, for example, if you have done KYC on a centralized exchange, usually when you do that, you get a confirmation email that everything's okay, and then you can take those kind of email and then generate the proof and sort of reuse the KYC that you have done on another website. Okay, so we also have an SDK for this kind of stuff that you can just use the verification of this SDK templates that we talked about inside your, I don't know, front end or whatever application that you're using. So for example here, I'm just importing a bunch of stuff from the SDK, and then so we are calling all of those things a blueprint. For example, the blueprint for the Twitter handle has specified exactly where to look for the username, how to like parse these things out, what things to hide, what things to show, and then we are calling them blueprints. So blueprints can be generated by anyone. I could make one. Anybody in this room can make a blueprint, and they can be reused by anybody else as well. For example, if I come up with a blueprint on how an Amazon order should look like, and for example, let's say we want to reimburse people based on the things that they've bought. So I can generate a blueprint, a template, and specify exactly how to extract the amount that was on the invoice on the Amazon email. And then somebody else in their own application they can simply reuse the blueprint that I've created and then create a proof or generate or verify claims from other people as well. And if you like scan this QR code, it's going to take you to like a template that allows you to just get it started and start using these proofs and verifiers. I'm just going to allow you to scan it if you like. Okay. So this was the registry and the SDK. It was basically simply taking an existing email that you might have received and extracting interesting information out of that email and generating proofs. But in ZK email, you're not just limited to all the emails that you've already received. You can kind of also play with this system and turn your email into a signer. So you can essentially, like, you use your MetaMask or whatever wallet that you have, you sign stuff. For example, you sign a transaction. You can do the same thing with your email as well. So for example, one thing that you can do is to configure your email to be a guardian for your smart account. For example, if you have a safe, you can add an email account to your safe so that you can rotate the signer or the owner of the safe in case you lose access to it. And so there is like a complete detailed protocol that we have. It is deployed to production using Clave that takes care of all the edge cases that might happen. But like at a high level, you literally sent out this English command. You say recover account, and then it would be your smart account's address. And then the command goes on because you need to like say who the new owner is going to be, and yeah, or other things. And then you can send this to a smart contract via a relayer. And then on the contract side, you can write a solidity verifier, or I don't know, a Rust verifier, or it's actually agnostic to the environment that the verifier is going to be run on. And then you can take actions based on this. For example, if this is your smart account, the action would be to change the owner to a new owner. So yeah, you can also turn the email into a signer as well. Yeah, so for example, here on the save page, so there is a demo live. I guess I'm not sure if the URL is up to date. I should update that. But what you can do is you can even have a signer in your safe account. So for example, you have your normal signer. You can also have your email signer. What this one does is that, okay, now I have a safe account. what happens is when I initiate a transaction via the EOA, for example, the first signer, I will automatically get an email, and in the email there is even a text representation of what the transaction is going to do. And if I agree with the transaction, I'm just going to reply confirm to the email that I get. Yeah, so basically the email signer project allows you to turn your email into a signer and use it wherever you use an EOA or for whatever purposes. You can even attest to different things. Or for example, one use case is, so on the papers, the people like the academic papers that are usually published, people usually put their emails as well. You could like send airdrops to those emails and then allow the authors to later claim those emails by proving that they actually own that email. They simply have to sign a message that I own this. They can come to a website and then claim it. Everything can happen behind the scenes. But yeah, the idea is to just allow somebody to say they own their email and sign stuff with it. So we have collaborated with OpenZeppelin to make the email signer a standard thing so that if you want to use it, there is a standard way to go about it, and it is also kind of well documented as well. And this QR code will take you to the OpenZeppelin library that we have. Yeah. And it allows you to just basically not care about seed phrases. It's going to come handy in different places for recovery, for your safe, for convenience and stuff like that. Also, let's look into some of the applications that others are building on top of this. I guess one of the first applications that was built on top of ZK email was ZK P2P. And so the first application that they built on it was an on-ramp via Venmo. And the way it was that so when you make a transfer via Venmo, it'll give you an email confirmation, and you could use that confirmation to pay out crypto to people. But then Venmo changed the template and then did something that wasn't compatible with ZK email anymore. There are ways to mitigate that. But another application that is also being used right now is a marketplace that ZK P2P has built on top of ZK email for domains. So basically, Namecheap allows you to register new domains. And then when you transfer them, you get confirmation email that the transfer has actually happened. So this allows us to sort of make a decentralized marketplace on top of that without introducing any new trust assumptions. So you're still only trusting Namechain, but you can transact on-chain and transfer these domains. Because like under the hood, if I bid on this specific domain and the owner actually wants to take the bid, what they can do is transfer the name to me as an owner, and once they do that, they get a confirmation email that the transfer has happened. Now they can trustlessly bring that confirmation email on-chain and verify it and claim the bid that I have put in here. So it sort of allows you to have this bridge from Web 2 stuff to on-chain and even build marketplaces on top of it. And yeah. This is one application. There are other applications as well. Just going to go with two. One of the other collaborations that we've done with ENS is that you can verifiably link your social media accounts or email on ENS as well. So this is not a new thing on ENS. ENS always allowed you to like say what your email is, what your social media account is. But now you can do it in a verifiable way, because there were times that people used this opportunity to say that they are a famous influencer where they weren't. But yeah, so sort of this one allows you to prove the claim that you're making on top of using ZK email as the source that you use for verification. So also, we talked about the DKIM signature in the beginning, and there's a lot of interesting stuff just looking at the DKIM signatures and the history of that. And one thing is that the key that is used to sign these signatures usually is rotated every 6 months, both for security reasons and probably other reasons as well. So for example, if Google uses like private key A to sign all the emails today, like in 6 months, they're probably rotating that key to private key 2, and they don't keep a copy of that key. So all those things are lost. And so right now, if you want to make sure what the public key of Google is, you look it up in the DNS records. So the public key that signs every email can be found on the DNS record of the domain. But then when the domain changes those things, we kind of lose that. So if you take an email from maybe 5 years ago, it is highly possible that we don't know what the public key of Google was at that time. But if you bring me 2 emails from Google, I can drive what the public key could have been. So if everybody contributes all the old emails that they have, maybe the ones that they don't really want to reveal, we can sort of extract all of these public keys, and we have a public archive of that, which actually includes over 1 million like expired keys. So these kind of things can be useful in like legal context as well, where there is an email and you want to prove that this email actually came from this specific sender. So yeah, we have the largest DKIM archive out there, and we would love everybody to contribute if they can, so that we can have all of these selectors and all of these old signatures as well. This is also, by the way, not only for the DKIM signature, but for example, if you want to verify JWT tokens on chain. So one of the other products that zkEmail is working on is a ZK JWT, where, for example, you log into Google and then you can use that login to verify some action on chain. For example, use your Google login as a signing mechanism. So essentially, you can have like an email signer in your safe. You could have this JWT signer, but it allows you to delegate access to whatever other account that you have. For example, it could be like your OpenAI account. It could be your Gmail account and stuff like that. Yeah. This is basically the presentation, and I just want to mention that zkEmail sort of does a lot of low-level cryptography implementation. So, for example, if you are looking for a SHA-256 circuit for your project, you can probably reuse the one that zkEmail has worked on. They are audited, they are optimized. So we have like a ZK regex library that allows you to selectively disclose parts of the email, but this is like generic. If you want to have like selective disclosure in some other context where it doesn't have to do anything with email, you could probably also reuse all of those circuits. So checking out the GitHub may be useful even for other projects. zkEmail is also very focused on improving client-side proving, and we're doing a lot of research on that end as well. But yeah, happy to take your questions.